That was cool. What is going on, everybody? My name is Cody S. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about Garmin Livescope. In my last video, I asked you guys if you would be interested in seeing a breakdown video on the settings that I'm using, the transducers, just basically my whole setup. You guys asked for it, and today I figured I would deliver that to you guys and even catch some fish in there too as well. It is a beautiful day out on Green Bay. I actually just got done running a guide trip about an hour ago here, and I figured, you know what, today would be a great day to come out here and do this. We have some really good fishing going on right now. If you guys are interested, I am running guided trips out here on Green Bay. We got walleyes coming the rest of this spring, which is almost over, and then we'll be walleye fishing all summer long and salmon fishing too as well. If you're interested in any of that, I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can book a trip with me. We'll get you out here. We'll teach you how to use Livescope. We'll teach you how to troll. We'll teach you whatever you want to know about fishing Green Bay or fishing Lake Michigan salmon. But yeah, I'm not gonna waste much time here talking. I'm gonna get up front. We're gonna catch some fish with Livescope, and then I'm gonna break down my settings, my setup, and let you guys know what we're doing out here to be successful out on the water. So that being said, if you guys are new here, definitely go down and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of the awesome content that we've been doing. We got some really cool stuff coming up for the rest of this summer. We had some really great stuff this spring that you guys should definitely check out. But I'm gonna get up front. We're gonna catch some fish, talk about Livescope, and hopefully you guys can take away something from this video that will help you out in your boat this spring and this summer. Got him. That was cool. Nice walleye too. Came up and just smoked that hair jig. Couple hops. There we go. So that right there is a perfect example of what we're doing with Livescope units. Obviously, when we're up on a big sandy flat like this, you know, being able to see fish and pinpoint them is super, super effective. When there's hardly any structure on the bottom, these fish aren't hiding behind anything. They're just roaming these flats looking for bait fish. It's super easy to pick them out. And if you have your settings dialed, these fish are really gonna show up, they're gonna pop, and you're gonna be able to make accurate casts at them, especially if you can get them dialed in close enough to the boat where you don't have to make a super long cast. Obviously, work them to your hair jig. So right there is an awesome fish. I'll go ahead and get this one back and show you guys a little bit more about the settings that we're running on the Garmin unit. That way you guys can get yours dialed in and hopefully catch some fish just like this. But beautiful fish. So I'll take you guys up to my office up here. This is where I spend a lot of time in the boat. Obviously, you know, looking at these graphs and spending time learning these electronics. That way I can be a little bit more efficient out on the water, whether I'm making videos for you guys, tournament fishing, or guiding out here on Green Bay. And I've been getting a ton of questions about the electronics themselves, what types of settings that I'm running on my Livescope unit, what type of graph, and just the overall general setup. So I want to walk you guys through all that today. That way you can get a better understanding of what I'm doing and what works for me in my boat. Again, this is all personal preference stuff. And this is stuff that you're going to want to play with and kind of personalize on your own. That way you're comfortable with what you're using. So what I'm showing you is what works for me. By all means, maybe it'll work for you too. But definitely play around with it and really try to figure out what's going to work best for your situation or what type of boat you have, or you know, whatever type of fishing that you plan on doing. But today I'm going to be walking you guys through my Garmin 8612 up front here. Now this is a graph that I actually just purchased this year. The really big reason why I purchased the 8612 is so I can do some screen recording. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording on this graph right now. You don't need this graph to have a Livescope. You can run the Echo Map series, which is going to be basically a little bit cheaper than these 8612s or any of the GPS map series for that matter. And the Echo Map Ultras, the 2s that actually just came out or released, I think last year, maybe a year and a half ago, those graphs are going to have just as good as graphics as the GPS map series. But the one that I'm using mainly for my forward-facing sonar is going to be this 8612. Now, before we go ahead and dig into the settings on this, I am running an LVS34 transducer. This is a step up from the LVS32. LVS32 was the first version of a Livescope transducer to come out. It is a very great transducer. It works really well. I actually still have an LVS32 for my ice fishing unit. You know, it allows you to see everything that you're able to see with the 34. However, with the 34, you're gonna have just a little bit better of a picture because you'll have better target separation. So you'll be able to see those targets just a little bit easier than you would with the LVS 32. So I am running an LVS 34. Again, that is gonna go back to the GLS 10 black box that comes with your Livescope setup. So that is all kind of external stuff that you need in order to have this setup complete. Let's go ahead now and talk about the settings. So this is basically what I am running. If you notice some of the screen controls down here, you'll see my gain is actually at 71%. The reason why I leave that gain on my screen control is because I like to adjust that depending on the situation that I'm in. Today I'm fishing some shallow water. It's all sand. There's not a lot of rock here. What I'm able to do is adjust that gain. That way I can see targets like that one right there just a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier. If I adjust that gain down, you'll notice that target still is shown, but it's a little less brighter than it was. So I like to run that gain just a little bit higher, especially on these sand or muddy bottoms where you're not gonna get any interference bouncing back to that transducer, you know, just from being a hard surface. So I'll run that gain up. Today I've been running it at 71%, and that's been good enough. You can see there's a target right there at like 25 feet. It's swimming right towards the boat. Another on-screen control that I like to have on here is just the distance that you're running. So obviously in some shallower water here, we're only fishing in 5 to 6 feet. What I'll do is I'll kind of run that distance out to normally around that 60-foot mark is kind of the sweet spot. Those marks being in shallow water are gonna look a lot bulgier. They're gonna look bigger. You know, so a 24 or even a 23-inch fish is gonna look quite large on the screen, mainly because of the shallow water that we're in. Those are just some of the things that I like to run on screen. Obviously on the right-hand side here too, we'll have some depth adjustments that you can make on the screen too as well. I like to have that on the screen because I do not use the auto depth. I like to be able to adjust that myself. We'll get into the settings on here and show you guys what we are working with. So if we go into the options, again, the first screen that pops up here is gonna be just a general settings overview, I guess. You'll have your gain up here, your depth, and your forward range. That's all stuff that we have, you know, on screen. But let's go into sonar setup. And right away, we'll just start with the appearance. So the color scheme that I like to use is this amber color scheme. Another color scheme that you might see me use is the blue color scheme. And this is really gonna depend on, again, what type of situation that I'm in. If I'm fishing rocks, if I'm fishing weeds, there's a lot of different color schemes in here that'll kind of make things a little easier to see in certain situations. So it's just something that you have to play around with. Again, most of the time I'm either using this blue pattern or this amber pattern. I will at times use the moss pattern, especially in weeds or around bridge pilings, anything like that. I really like the moss pattern for that type of stuff, as the 3D effect really pops, in my opinion, by using that moss pattern. But 95% of the time, you're gonna see me using this amber pattern. It's easy to see, it really pops. Those targets are gonna be fiery, and it's just a little bit easier on the eyes. So moving down, you're gonna have your color gain. Color gain actually is really important to me, mainly because this is gonna be a setting that you're gonna wanna use to kind of help, you know, really pop your bait or really make sure that you're seeing your bait fall down on these fish. If you notice, I'm running my color gain much higher than my actual gain on the unit. I run that, right now I have it at 91%. Sometimes on these days, again, where I'm not fishing a hard bottom, I'll crank that up even more. That way I can really see my bait going down. I don't have to, you know, look real hard depending on what I'm throwing. Today I'm throwing a 1/4 ounce jig. It's not gonna show up as well as a 3/8 ounce jig or a 1/2 ounce jig on a Livescope. So I like to really crank that color gain up. Most of the time I am running that color gain up past that 90% range. So that's just something that I have found that works for me. Color limit, I always just kind of leave that on default, but you can play around with it. It'll just kind of limit the amount of color that gets put into your picture. If you notice, we go all the way up to 100%, you pretty much get rid of all the color in general. So I always just leave that on default. It's not really a setting that I worry about, and it's not something that is crucial to me catching fish. Trails is a pretty simple setting that I always just leave off, but if you do turn it on, what it'll do is it'll leave a trail behind your bait, or it will leave a trail behind the target that is moving. I like to leave that off. That way I don't have to worry about that. Bottom fill is just a way to kind of showcase the bottom. I don't like to leave this on because I end up, you can end up losing targets in that bottom, especially if you're fishing a rocky bottom. Moving back here, we'll go to layout. And the first thing on layout here, we're gonna have a grid overlay. This is typically on when you get your unit for the first time, you get it turned on. You're gonna have this grid overlay. It's nice if you're trying to figure out, what the size of the fish are before you're even casting at them. You're gonna have those grid lines to kind of figure that out. I don't like the clutteriness of that, so I always keep that off. That way none of those grid lines are on there. Scroll history, it's just gonna give you basically what you've seen. Again, I keep that off. It's just less things on the screen that I have to worry about. On-screen controls, you can hide those if you don't want them on there. I leave them on. Reverse range, I always leave on default, but basically reverse range is gonna be what you are able to see behind the transducer. So if you go full, you're basically just gonna get a little bit more screen from behind the transducer. If you go minimum, it'll pull that in. Again, I just kind of always leave that on default. You can hide it completely and then you don't have anything. In my opinion, it's not a huge deal whether you have it on or off. I just like to leave it on default. That way it gives me a little bit, I can see stuff that is kind of right underneath the transducer or maybe even moving under the boat. Again, by the time they normally get to that point, unless you're vertical jigging, those fish are gonna kind of be out of your way to really, pursue anyway. So I'll just kind of leave that on default. Compass range, I leave off, but if you turn that on, it'll just kind of adjust the range up top. Again, not something that's super important. I always just kind of leave that off. Going back into sonar setup here, noise reject. This is something that you're gonna wanna play with a little bit. But noise reject, I personally always kind of keep on medium. If you really don't like all that flashiness that's happening, throughout the screen, especially if you're running another transducer in the back of the boat, you might get some interference. You can run that noise reject on high. It'll really clean your screen up. It'll look really nice. You won't have much interference at all on the screen. However, that noise reject, you're not getting as much information basically back to that transducer, and you may miss out on some targets by running that noise reject high. So what I always like to do is just kind of keep that on medium. That way, like there's a target right there. If we turn that on high, again, you can still see that target there because we are in some shallower water. But if we start getting in some deeper water and you're fishing rocks, if you run that noise reject real high, you can start kind of missing some smaller stuff that could be on the bottom. So I always kind of just like to leave that on medium. Again, that's gonna be personal preference. If it doesn't bother you, I would definitely go on medium. If it does bother you, want a very crisp, clean screen, you can run that noise reject a little bit higher. I've also ran it down lower. Again, it's really gonna depend on what type of bottom that you're fishing. If you're fishing, a real hard bottom, you're gonna get a little bit more interference back to the transducer. If you're fishing mud, sand, you're not gonna get as much. You might be able to run that noise reject even a little bit lower. But again, that's just something that you wanna play with. Ghost reject, I leave on medium too as well. You can run that high just to kind of get rid of some of the ghosting that goes on the screen here. I run it on medium because it's giving me a pretty good clean look at the screen here. You can run it at low. It doesn't really change it a whole lot. Again, that ghost reject is just something that I leave on medium. It works for me. TVG, time varying gain, I leave that off. You can play around with that. What the time varying gain is going to do is basically adjust the sensitivity in the water column. So not necessarily the bottom half of what you're looking at or the bottom half of your Livescope screen. Again, this isn't something that you really have to play with when we're fishing shallow like we are today. This is something that you're going to want to dig into a little bit more once you start getting into some deeper water. And I'm talking maybe 40, 50 feet. I always leave that off for a lot of the stuff that I'm doing out here on Green Bay. I'm not fishing deep enough to have to worry about my TVG. So I'll mainly leave that off. If there are situations out on Lake Michigan where we are jigging for salmon or something, or lake trout, I may run that on low or high depending on, again, the situation. Overlay data, this is just gonna show you your depth, your water temp, your unit voltage, speed, time of day. That's all stuff that you can have kind of under your depth up here. I like to hide some of that stuff. So water temp, I can get on my graphs down here. Speed, I hide that. I got that on my graph down here. Time of day, I don't need all that clutter up on my forward facing screen. This is a screen that I'm using to sharpshoot. This is the one that I want to look the cleanest. So I try to get rid of anything on that screen that I don't need. So that's how I run, my sonar overlays. Again, it's gonna come down to personal preference on how you are running your setup and what you want it to look like. that's what I'm running. That's what I'm looking at basically when we're cruising up and down these flats looking for fish. This is exactly what I'm looking at. Those are the settings that I'm running. So hopefully those tips there help give you a better understanding on what to be looking for when you're setting your Livescope up on the box. A lot of times when these Livescopes are coming out of the box, they're pretty much ready to rock, but there are some things in here that you definitely want to adjust just to make your life just a little bit easier. So those are the settings that I'm running. That's what's working for me. Hopefully they work for you too. So here's another great example. We have a fish at about 30 feet right there. So that's great pitching distance. That way you can make an accurate cast, get on top of that fish. If you don't make an accurate cast, like there, I didn't even see my jig go down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna reel up and I'm gonna recast at that fish. That way I can see my bait going down, I know where I am, and I can see that fish react a little more. So there, kind of seen my jig there for a second, was a little farther than I wanted to be. I'm gonna go ahead and actually crank my gain up just a touch. There you can see my jig is right underneath him. That fish just went down for it. He's coming towards the bait right now. I'm just gonna keep working that hair jig as if I didn't know there was a fish following it. He just hit it, I missed him. But he's gonna come back for it. Maybe he'll give us another shot. He will, there he is, right there. So just like that, I was able to kind of watch that fish's reaction. He hit it that first time, I missed him. I seen my hair jig, come up off the bottom, go back down, he followed it, and I was still able to get a fish to the boat. Beautiful. There we go. We've literally made only 2 casts since we got out here. And both casts resulted in a fish because we were able to pinpoint those fish on the unit and make an accurate cast at them to get on top of them and put them into the boat. So if you can get your settings dialed, like I said, especially when you're out on a flat like this, these marks are just really gonna pop. Obviously these are suspended fish, that's making it just a little bit easier to see them on that unit. But that right there is just another gorgeous Green Bay fish. I am booking trips if you guys are interested in getting out here and learning this for yourself. You just want to see it, in person. You can book a trip with me. We'll get you out here. We'll show you everything there is to know about the Livescope unit if that's what you're wanting to learn. And we'll put some awesome fish in the boat. Have a great time, teach you some things, and hopefully you can leave with some knowledge that'll help you get out into your boat and be a little bit more confident with your electronics. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this fish back. It's just a perfect day to be doing this. Looked like that fish came down to it. Right on it. Got him. That's a good one. So you guys can see with the wind there, what I did is I was moving, kind of drifting with the wind. I seen that fish. I was able to cast on it, and then I actually power pulled down, and that boat started to swing from the power pull. So I knew that fish was following because I saw it kind of go down to it. What I did is I just kept working that hair jig like I normally would, if I wasn't using, any electronics, and just kind of waited, was patient, kind of moved my trolling motors. That way I could get a second look, see, and saw that he was right on it. Boom, he smoked it. Just a solid, probably 24-incher right there. Gorgeous walleye on Green Bay. And all thanks to that Livescope unit being able to find them on these sand flats. They're just scattered. And there's a million different ways that you could fish these fish. You could run up and down with side imaging and just drift this flat with hair jigs, or you could even troll. If a guy wanted to put planer boards in, and you'll catch fish doing that. But it's so fun. It's like a video game, just chasing them down, finding them with that Livescope unit, and then making those precise casts right on top of them to just see their behavior, and then essentially just wait for that bite. It's a ton of fun. Get that one back in the water. I'm gonna take a few more casts just because I'm having a lot of fun doing this. You don't normally get days like this where it's nice and flat calm. I was actually running clients this morning, and it's nice to be able to just come out here, relax, and catch some fish again. Just awesome. This fish is all over it. Bite it. Bite it. Got him. There we go. Another nice walleye. Oh, it just never gets old. It's so much fun being able to watch that go down. Here I was just kind of, I was drifting a little bit this time. That wind is picking up, so I was just kind of letting the wind push me along as I'm looking, you know, for fish with my transducer. I got my transducer actually mounted to my Minn Kota, so I'm able to use my foot to kind of scan around and then make those accurate casts. And you guys seen there, I basically landed on top of that fish, kind of lost it for a little bit, but I went back on him, seen that he was following me, and that fish just smoked it. Pop this hair jig out. Check that out. So much fun dialing this stuff in on Livescope, where you can watch these fish react, watch them come up, pin that bait, and then you can also watch the fight up the boat, which is pretty neat. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I think this is where I'm going to end today's video. I'm probably going to do a little bit of fishing here, just catch some more fish, have a little bit more fun. Even if you have a great general understanding of how everything works, there's always room to learn. And I tell you what, I'm learning every day that I'm out on the water with my electronics. Does it come with responsibility? Absolutely. We have to respect our resources, which is why you guys seen me release every single fish in this video. These are prime spawners. These 22 to 24 inch fish need to get let back into the system. That way we can have a great future fishery here in Green Bay. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do with this fish here. Later, girl. I thought I'd take some time today, put something together for you guys, show you guys my settings, show you what we're doing out here every time we're out making a video. Hopefully it helped you. If it did, leave some comments down below. If you do have any other questions for me, feel free to leave a comment down below on this video or reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of you guys probably follow me there. If you don't, check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Cody S Fishing. And yeah, you can ask me any questions that you guys have there. But we're gonna end this video here. I'll catch you guys on the next video. As always, keep living your dream, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.